Ladies and gentlemen, pause for a moment, not to think, but to simply be. To listen to the rhythm of your own breath, the rise and fall, the gentle hum of existence flowing through you. In this stillness, let me ask you, who are you? Most would answer with a name, a title, a role. I am a mother, I am a student, I am an entrepreneur. Perhaps you might even reach for grander abstractions. I am kind, I am ambitious, or I am flawed. Yet I invite you to consider that every label, every definition you hold so tightly to, is but a mask. The truth, my friends, is this: you are not who you think you are. From the moment we take our first breath, the world begins assigning us labels. A name, a family, a nationality, a culture, all these become the foundation upon which we build our sense of self. As we grow, the layers only thicken: student, professional, partner, parent. Each label adds weight, a sense of significance, and a feeling of certainty about who we are. But if we pause for a moment and step back, we may begin to question, are these roles and labels the sum total of who we truly are? Consider for a moment the name you carry. It was given to you often before you had the ability to comprehend its meaning. And yet, over time, it becomes an anchor for your identity. But if you were to change your name tomorrow, would the essence of who you are truly change? Would your being cease to exist if no one called you by your given name? Now think about the titles you've earned: student, manager, artist, mother. These roles can feel deeply defining, as if they're etched into the very fabric of our being. Yet roles shift and change throughout life. The student graduates, the artist retires, the parent sees their children grow and leave the nest. When these roles dissolve, what remains? Who are you when the title no longer applies? This is the heart of the illusion. We confuse what we do with who we are. Our actions, achievements, and circumstances are like clothing we wear. They can change, be discarded, or replaced. But beneath all the layers, there is something more fundamental, something constant and unchanging. Let us look at achievements. Society teaches us to measure our worth by what we accomplish. We pursue success, accolades, and recognition, believing they add value to who we are. But does the failure to achieve something diminish your existence? Conversely, does success fundamentally alter your essence? Achievements are fleeting. They are moments in time, not the foundation of your being. The same is true for relationships. Many of us define ourselves by the roles we play for others. I am a spouse, I am a sibling, I am a friend. These roles are beautiful and meaningful, but they too are transient. Relationships evolve. People come and go. Does your identity dissolve when someone exits your life? What makes the illusion of identity so compelling is that it provides a sense of order and stability in a chaotic world. It gives us something to cling to, a narrative that explains our place in the grand tapestry of existence. But the cost of this illusion is that it limits us. We become trapped in our stories, mistaking the map for the territory, the costume for the actor. When you believe you are your labels, you carry the burden of maintaining them. You feel the pressure to live up to your roles, fearing the consequences of failing or falling short. But here's the liberating truth: these labels and roles are not who you are. They are masks you wear, tools you use to navigate the world. Like actors in a play, you step into a role, perform it to the best of your ability, and then step out. The actor remains unchanged by the character they portray. Understanding the illusion of identity doesn't mean rejecting your roles or dismissing your accomplishments. It means seeing them for what they are: temporary and surface level. This clarity allows you to engage fully with life without becoming entangled in its shifting currents. Who you are is not confined to a name, a job, or a role. Beneath the layers of identity lies a presence of formless, boundless awareness that observes all these changing facets of life. It is not limited by what you do, who you know, or what you've achieved. It is the silent space within you, the foundation upon which everything else is built. When you see through the illusion of identity, life takes on a new lightness. You can still honor your roles and responsibilities, but they no longer define you. You are free to explore, to play, and to simply be. The masks may change, but the one who wears them remains infinite and unchanging. Amid the constant noise of thoughts, emotions, and experiences that fill our days, there exists a quiet presence, a silent witness that watches it all. This presence is formless, beyond the grasp of our senses or intellect, and yet it is closer to us than anything we can imagine. It is the core of who we truly are, the observer within. Most of us live immersed in the narrative of our minds. From the moment we wake, our thoughts begin spinning a story, plans for the day, recollections of the past, worries about the future. The mind weaves a tapestry of concepts, judgments, and interpretations, and we become so identified with these thoughts that we believe we are them. I am anxious, we say, or I am happy, as if these fleeting states are the entirety of our being. But are they? Consider this when you notice a thought. Who is it that is aware of it? When you feel an emotion, who is it that perceives the rising tide of joy or sorrow? There is something within you that is aware of your mental chatter, yet it is not entangled in it. This is the observer, the silent awareness that exists beyond the narrative of the mind. The observer is not something you need to create or find. It is already present. It has been with you through every moment of your life, from the earliest memories of childhood to this very instant. It is the unchanging witness of all your experiences. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fade, and yet the observer remains steady, untouched by the turbulence of the mind. To understand this, imagine sitting by a river. The water flows steadily, carrying leaves, sticks, and debris downstream. You can watch the river without becoming the water. In the same way, the observer within you watches the flow of thoughts, feelings, and sensations without being swept away by them. The beauty of the observer lies in its neutrality. It does not judge or interfere, it simply watches. When you are angry, it does not become angry. When you are joyful, it does not become joyful. It is a pure presence, free from the limitations and fluctuations of the mind. This is why the observer is often described as formless. It has no shape, no identity, no attachment to the roles or stories we carry. When you recognize the observer within, something profound begins to shift. You realize that you are not the thoughts you think or the emotions you feel. These are temporary phenomena, like clouds passing across the sky. And just as the sky remains unchanged by the clouds, the observer within you remains unaffected by the movements of the mind. This realization brings a sense of peace. No matter how chaotic life becomes, the observer is a refuge, a space of stillness and clarity that cannot be disturbed. It allows you to step back from the drama of life and see things as they are, without being overwhelmed or consumed by them. Practically, this awareness can transform how you experience the world. When anger arises, you can notice it without identifying with it. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you might observe anger is present. This subtle shift creates space between you and the emotion, making it easier to respond rather than react. The same applies to fear, sadness, or even happiness. The observer does not cling to pleasant experiences or resist unpleasant ones. It simply observes, allowing life to flow naturally. Some might wonder, if I am the observer, what about my personality, my desires, my individuality? Recognizing the observer does not mean denying these aspects of yourself. Instead, it means seeing them as part of the play of life, like characters in a story. You can engage with them fully while knowing that they do not define you. The observer is not separate from you, it is you. Not the you defined by name, history, or achievements, but the true self, formless, infinite, and eternal. It is the presence that remains when all else falls away. In discovering the observer, you awaken to a deeper truth that you are not the passing waves of thought and emotion, but the vast ocean of awareness in which they arise. This awareness is always here, patiently waiting for you to remember it. And in that remembrance lies freedom. From the moment we come into the world, we begin to take on roles. As children, we are sons and daughters, students and dreamers. As we grow, we accumulate new identities, friends, professionals, parents, partners. Each role feels significant, anchoring us to a sense of purpose and belonging. Yet beneath this dance of identities lies a deeper truth: these roles are fleeting, ever-changing, and ultimately impermanent. Imagine the ocean on a windy day. Waves rise and fall, each with its own unique shape and movement. Some are gentle, others are powerful, crashing with force onto the shore. Yet, no matter how grand or subtle the wave may seem, it is always a temporary expression of the ocean itself. The wave cannot exist apart from the ocean, and when it recedes, the ocean remains vast and unchanging. Our roles in life are like these waves. They are expressions of something much larger, the consciousness that underlies our existence. These roles are beautiful, necessary even for navigating the world and engaging with others. But when we mistake the wave for the ocean, we limit ourselves. We begin to believe that we are only the role we play, forgetting the boundless presence that gives rise to it. Think of the roles you have played throughout your life. Perhaps you were a carefree child, exploring the world with wide-eyed wonder. Later, you might have become a student, diligently learning and striving to achieve. At another point, you may have taken on the role of a professional, dedicating yourself to a craft or career. Each of these identities felt real and defining in the moment, yet none of them fully encapsulated who you are. Now consider what happens when a role ends. The student graduates, the parent sees their children grow and leave home, the professional retires. Often there is a sense of loss or disorientation as we ask, who am I now? This feeling arises because we've tied our sense of self to the role, forgetting that roles are temporary. They are chapters in the story of our lives, not the essence of the storyteller. Even in the present, our roles are constantly shifting. In a single day, you might play the role of a parent in the morning, a colleague at work, and a friend in the evening. Each role requires you to wear a different mask, adapting to the situation at hand. Yet when you look closely, you'll notice that none of these masks define the one who wears them. The roles change, but the awareness behind them, the ocean, remains the same. This recognition is not an invitation to abandon your roles or dismiss their importance. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with them more fully, knowing that they are temporary expressions rather than fixed identities. When you see your roles as waves on the ocean, you can navigate life with a sense of freedom and lightness. You can pour your heart into being a parent, a friend, or a professional, without being consumed by the fear of losing that identity. Understanding the temporary nature of roles also deepens your compassion for others. Just as you are not defined by the roles you play, neither are they. The colleague who seems distant, the stranger who is unkind, the friend who seems to have changed, all are navigating their own waves, shaped by circumstances and moments. Beneath these roles lies the same ocean of consciousness, unchanging and universal. This perspective can bring a profound sense of peace. When we recognize that our roles are fleeting, we no longer cling to them out of fear or insecurity. Instead, we can honor them for what they are, part of the beautiful dance of life. And when the time comes for a role to end, we can let it go gracefully, knowing that the essence of who we are remains untouched. In every role we play, there is an opportunity to remember the deeper truth of our being. We are not limited to the wave, no matter how magnificent or challenging it may seem. We are the ocean itself, vast, timeless, and infinite. The roles we take on are expressions of this ocean, rising and falling in the rhythm of life, but the ocean remains, steady and constant, always present beneath the surface. Freedom is a word that resonates deeply with all of us. We seek it in our choices, relationships, and lifestyles, believing that achieving certain goals or fulfilling specific roles will bring us closer to it. Yet, paradoxically, the freedom we long for often eludes us. Why? Because we tether ourselves to roles and labels, mistaking them for the essence of who we are. But when we release this attachment, we begin to glimpse a different kind of freedom, one that is vast, boundless, and already present within us. Our roles and labels are like anchors we carry through life. They give us a sense of identity, purpose, and direction. Being a parent, a professional, a student, or a partner often brings joy and meaning. These identities provide structure in a complex world, a framework through which we engage with others and express ourselves. But when we cling to these roles too tightly, they can also become burdens. Think about how much energy goes into maintaining the labels we associate with ourselves. We strive to be the successful professional, the perfect parent, or the reliable friend. We measure ourselves against societal expectations, fearing that if we fall short, we will somehow lose our worth. This attachment to roles creates a kind of invisible cage, confining us to a narrow idea of who we must be. Now imagine what happens when one of these roles shifts or dissolves. The professional faces retirement or job loss. The parent sees their children grow and gain independence. The friend moves away. These transitions often bring pain, not because the roles themselves were bad, but because we had anchored our identity to them. When the role ends, we feel unmoored, as though a part of ourselves has been lost. But the truth is, we are not the roles we play. Roles are temporary expressions, like costumes we wear on the stage of life. Beneath the layers of these identities lies something far more enduring, the essence of our being. And when we let go of our attachment to roles and labels, we create space to rediscover this essence. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibilities or withdrawing from life. It is not about neglecting the roles we currently hold. Instead, it is about shifting our perspective, recognizing that we are not defined by these roles. We can honor them, fulfill them, and even cherish them, but without being confined by them. This shift is liberating. When we stop clinging to a specific identity, we are no longer bound by the fear of losing it. We are free to adapt, grow, and flow with the ever-changing nature of life. We can embrace new opportunities, explore different aspects of ourselves, and respond to challenges with greater creativity and resilience. Moreover, releasing attachment to roles allows us to experience life more fully in the present moment. When we are overly attached to being a certain way, we become consumed by the future, trying to live up to expectations, or by the past, holding on to what once defined us. Letting go dissolves these barriers, opening us to the here and now. In this space of presence, we can simply be. This freedom also deepens our relationships with others. When we let go of rigid roles, we begin to see ourselves and those around us with greater clarity and compassion. We no longer view people solely through the lens of their roles: colleague, parent, child, friend, but as unique expressions of life itself. This recognition fosters deeper connection and understanding, untainted by the projections and assumptions that often come with roles. Letting go is not always easy. It requires courage to loosen our grip on the identities we have clung to for so long. But in that surrender lies immense liberation. We begin to realize that our worth is not tied to what we do, achieve, or provide. Our value is intrinsic, inseparable from the simple fact that we are. This is the boundless freedom that comes from letting go. It is the freedom to live authentically, without the weight of expectations or the fear of losing something that was never truly ours to begin with. It is the freedom to flow with life's ever-changing rhythm, trusting that beneath the shifting roles and labels, we remain whole, complete, and infinite. In letting go, we are not losing ourselves. We are finding the self that was always there, silent, present, and free. Life is often described as a journey, a climb, or a battle. These metaphors suggest effort, striving, and struggle, a perpetual race toward a never-elusive destination. But what if life is not a path to be conquered, but a dance to be enjoyed? When we recognize our true self, the essence beyond roles, labels, and attachments, we discover that life is not something to control or master. Instead, it is a fluid, ever-changing rhythm, inviting us to move with it gracefully, joyfully, and without resistance. The idea of life as a dance may feel foreign at first. After all, we are taught to plan, achieve, and strive. We create expectations, set goals, and hold tightly to the outcomes we desire. But this attachment to control often leads to frustration and suffering, because life by its very nature is unpredictable and impermanent. No matter how tightly we cling, circumstances change, relationships evolve, and moments slip through our fingers like grains of sand. When we resist this impermanence, life feels like a struggle. We wrestle with what is, trying to force it into the shape of what we think it should be. But this resistance only creates tension, pulling us further from the natural flow of existence. Recognizing our true self, a presence that is constant, boundless, and untouched by the fluctuations of life, frees us from this struggle. It allows us to see that impermanence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Consider the essence of dance. In dance, there is no rigid destination, no fixed goal. The beauty lies in the movement itself, in the interplay of steps, rhythms, and pauses. Each moment is fleeting yet fully alive. The dancer does not cling to a single step or try to prolong a particular motion. Instead, they trust the rhythm, flowing seamlessly from one movement to the next. Life is much the same. Each experience, relationship, and moment is like a step in the dance. Some steps are light and joyful, while others are heavy and challenging. But none of them define the dance itself. The dance is the whole, the unfolding of life in all its complexity and beauty. When we recognize our true self, we step into this dance with ease. The true self is not bound by the constraints of roles, expectations, or the need for control. It is the silent witness, present in every moment, yet free from attachment. This perspective allows us to embrace impermanence, knowing that change is not an obstacle, but an essential part of the dance. In this recognition, life becomes lighter. Challenges no longer feel like battles to be won, but movements to be navigated. Joys are no longer possessions to cling to, but moments to savor. We stop trying to force life into a fixed shape and instead allow it to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Rather, we engage with life fully, but without the burden of resistance or fear. This approach transforms even the simplest experiences. A conversation becomes a melody, a walk becomes a rhythm, and a moment of stillness becomes a pause in the dance. We become attuned to the flow of life, moving in harmony with its ever-changing beat. Even in difficult times, we can find grace, knowing that every movement, no matter how challenging, is part of the greater whole. To dance with life is to embrace its impermanence. It is to understand that nothing is fixed, and that is precisely what makes each moment precious. Just as a dancer cannot hold onto a single step without breaking the flow, we cannot cling to any moment or role without disrupting the natural rhythm of life. Instead, we let each experience arise and fade, trusting that the dance continues. This perspective is deeply liberating. It allows us to let go of the need for perfection, the fear of change, and the weight of expectations. It invites us to show up fully, to move with life rather than against it, and to find joy in the unfolding of each moment. Ultimately, life as a dance is not about mastering steps or controlling the rhythm. It is about surrendering to the flow, trusting the music, and realizing that the joy lies not in reaching a destination, but in moving through the dance itself. In this way, we discover that life is not a struggle to endure, but a celebration to be embraced. And in every step, we find the freedom to simply be. The human mind has an innate desire to categorize, define, and label everything it encounters. From the moment we are born, we are taught to name things objects, emotions, people, and even ourselves. We rely on language as a tool to make sense of the world, to express our thoughts, and to communicate with others. However, the deeper essence of who we are, the true self that lies beneath all the roles, identities, and experiences, transcends language and definition. It is not something that can be grasped by the mind or captured in a concept. It is a presence, an unnameable truth that simply is. When we look within ourselves, we often try to define our identity through thoughts and feelings. I am kind, we say. I am confessional. I am a parent. These labels provide a sense of structure, of understanding, but they are only partial truths. They are fragments of a much larger whole. The essence of who we are cannot be contained within a label or a description, just as the vastness of the ocean cannot be captured by a single wave. These labels can point us towards certain aspects of ourselves, but they cannot encompass the totality of our being. The true self is not an object that can be analyzed or understood by the mind. It is a formless, boundless presence that exists beyond all concepts, beyond all dualities. It is the awareness that witnesses everything else, thoughts, feelings, actions, and experiences without becoming attached to any of them. This awareness is not personal or individual, it is universal, encompassing all of existence. It is the silent observer behind the stream of thoughts, the stillness behind the noise, the space in which everything arises and fades. This truth cannot be adequately described by words, for language is inherently limited. Words are constructs designed to represent concepts, but they can never fully capture the essence of what they describe. The more we try to grasp the truth with words, the further we are from it. Just as the moon cannot be contained in the reflection on the surface of the water, the essence of our being cannot be contained in the confines of a definition. The only way to know this truth is to experience it directly, beyond thought and concept. It is not something we can understand through intellectual analysis, but something we must feel and witness in the present moment. The truth is not a belief to be held or an idea to be grasped. It is a living, breathing experience, a presence that can only be known in stillness and awareness. When we quiet the mind and let go of our attachment to thoughts and labels, we can begin to sense this deeper truth. It is a subtle, silent knowing, a recognition that we are not the roles we play, the thoughts we think, or the emotions we feel. We are the awareness in which all of these things arise. This awareness does not need to be sought or found. It is already here, always present, waiting for us to notice it. To experience this truth is to experience a profound sense of freedom. The self we believe ourselves to be is bound by time, by roles, by expectations. But the true self is timeless and infinite. It is beyond all limitations, beyond all definitions. When we step into the awareness of our true self, we are no longer confined by the boundaries of our labels or our past. We are free to simply be, without needing to prove, achieve, or become anything. This truth is not something we can possess or control. It is not a goal to be achieved, but a reality to be recognized. It is like the air we breathe. It is always there, surrounding us, yet we often fail to notice it. The more we try to grasp it, the more elusive it becomes. But when we release the need to define it, to capture it, we begin to feel its presence. The unnameable truth is the essence of who we are. It is not a concept or an idea, but a living presence that witnesses all things without attachment or judgment. It cannot be contained by words, for it is beyond the grasp of the mind. It simply is. And when we recognize it, we experience a profound peace and freedom that transcends all understanding. This truth is not something to be learned or attained. It is something to be realized in the silence of our own being, in the stillness beneath the thoughts and the labels. And in this realization, we discover that we are not the story we tell ourselves, but the awareness that witnesses it all. In conclusion, the journey of understanding who we truly are is not one of grasping or attaining, but of releasing and allowing. The roles, labels, and identities we attach to ourselves are transient expressions, like waves on the surface of an ocean. They are necessary, they serve a purpose, but they do not define the depth of who we are. Beneath these fleeting identities lies the silent, formless presence, the true self that observes all, undisturbed by the ebb and flow of life's impermanence. This awareness is not something to be sought outside of us, for it is already present always. When we recognize this deeper truth, life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance. We are no longer confined by expectations, fears, or the weight of roles. We are free to flow with life's rhythm, embracing the beauty of change and the joy of simply being. We no longer need to define ourselves by what we do, who we know, or what we achieve. Instead, we can rest in the knowing that we are the awareness behind all these movements, the timeless essence that cannot be captured by words or concepts. This freedom, this unnameable truth, is the key to a peaceful, joyful existence. It is the quiet knowing that we are enough, as we are right now. When we let go of the need to define ourselves, we uncover the boundless presence of our true self, and in this recognition, we discover the freedom to simply be, fully and completely. Life, then, is no longer a destination to reach, but a dance to enjoy, ever-changing, ever-flowing, and yet always whole. And in this dance, we are at once both the dancer and the dance itself. Thank you.